to Hashtag No Limits. I am your host, Shelly Kino, and Hashtag No Limits is about people whose society has placed limits upon, but who are busting through those limits. Ophelia said in Hamlet, "We know what we are, but not what we will be." And I've kind of tweaked that a little bit, but I 100% believe it, in that there is no better or more beautiful example than the caterpillar turning into the butterfly. Very quick, very simplified version of what is happening is that the caterpillar literally dissolves into its cells, and then it must think its life is over. It starts to reform as the butterfly. While it's still in the cocoon, though, its struggle isn't over. Its wings, in order for it to be strong enough to take it everywhere they're going to go, has to fight to get out of that cocoon. None of that can be easy, but neither is busting through limits that society places upon a person. And that is one of the main reasons that I do Hashtag No Limits, is for us to learn that it's okay to struggle, that there are lots of people going through similar struggles or struggles that might not be like ours, but they are their own. And for us to be supportive and to have a different perspective of people with disabilities specifically, but anybody going through any kind of a struggle. Just want to remind you to like and subscribe and hit that notification button so that you don't miss a single episode of Hashtag No Limits, because I have the most amazing guests on my show that I am so happy to share with you as often as I can. And one last thing before I bring on my guest, if you are watching live, please give a hashtag live and where you're watching from. And if you're watching in the replay, the same thing, hashtag replay and where you're watching from. And if you happen to have any comments or suggestions or questions for my guest or myself relating to this particular episode, please leave those in the comments and we will be sure to respond. Without further ado, let me bring on my guest today, Susan Tatem. Susan, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here today.
Yes, I am excited to have you as my guest. When you and I first met, I feel like everything that we do mirrors the other one. And so I'm excited to share all the things that you do. And I'm not sure that an hour, to be perfectly honest, is going to be enough time for us to discuss everything that we each do, but specifically you do, and be able to share with everyone all the great and wonderful things. So first up, tell us who you are.
Well, my name is Susan Tatem, and I am the founder and CEO of Bright Path for Autism. I am originally from Pennsylvania, but I live in Virginia now. My history is that I have been in healthcare for 30 years as an LPTA, which is physical therapist assistant. But why I'm here today is because I raised a beautiful daughter with autism by myself as a single mom. And she's going to be 28 this year. So what I wanted to do and have a heart and passion for is I wanted to help the autism community. Specifically, what I do is I'm an autism transition planning strategist. What does that mean? That means that I actually help parents with their IEP program, but I gear it all towards what's going to happen when high school ends. Even if your child's in middle school, it doesn't matter. Everything is going to add up to what is going to happen when graduation day comes. So that's one of the things that I do, the primary thing that I do with Bright Path for Autism, amongst some other things as well.
And that is so incredibly important. Unfortunately, and I'm not sure if this happens all around the country, it certainly seems like it does from people who have reached out to me. But once our students are graduating, whether that's as a senior or if they've been able to stay in for the extended learning that until they're whatever age, each state's a little bit different, they let them stay. Then what? Then what happens? I hear so many people talk about there's nothing for them. There aren't programs in my area. And the more rural you are, the louder that sentiment is. Is that the same there in Virginia with you?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I call it falling off the cliff. Once you graduate and there's nothing there, the supports of the routine aren't there, they're just kind of in this abyss where if you don't plan ahead, there's nothing for them to do. what are they going to do? They're going to sit around and play video games all the time. That's not a life. That's an existence. And I
Right.
want everyone to have a fulfilled, independent adulthood. And that is what we strategize for and plan for. You have to start early. I know my daughter personally sat on a waiting list for services for 10 years. And if I hadn't
Oh,
planned ahead and started early, she'd still be sitting on it instead of being in her home that she has and being able to live independently with support. And it's so important to start early. I can't stress that enough.
so when you say start early, what is there a too early? What age do you recommend?
I don't feel like there's too early. Even in elementary school, I know we're focused on getting through the day, learning basic skills, but it doesn't hurt to look down the road and say, okay, how does this piece connect to the next piece, to the next piece, to the next piece, and get us through that? And I think a lot of that perspective for me comes from my background in physical therapy, because that's my job. You get your knee replaced. My job is to look at where do I want you to be in 6 months, and then start you in that direction, head you on that path to get where you want to be. Same principle here, only the time frame is a little bit longer than 6 months, but
Right.
where are you now? And the skills we want you to have down the road, they can be broken down into the smallest of building blocks, the smallest of pieces. So even as a younger child, you can start building that foundation of those younger pieces and the building blocks so that it all adds up to a successful, independent, fulfilling life.
Yeah. Okay. And so then the next question is there's not really a too early. So what are we starting early and doing? What kinds of things besides the academic? Because you kind of touched on that a little bit. Like, we are thinking like what this skill is. Are there specific skills that you really focus on, or is it a kind of a whole umbrella of a term where there's lots and lots of things underneath it? What are we doing once we get started?
Absolutely. As we know, every autistic individual is different. And there's kind of I compare it to like a giant block of Swiss cheese where you can cut off a bunch of slices, but the deficits are going to be a little bit different in each slice. And I call them deficits just because my clinical background. I know they're not problems or deficits. I like to say challenges, where their challenges are going to be different. But in general, you're going to want to have certain building blocks where you're going to, first of all, you as the parent are going to start by doing research. I think that's the number one thing. Know what's available in your area, know where to go to access it, and we can come up with a when to access it, because you have to know the succession. There are certain things that you can access, but maybe you need to access A before you go to B, because A is going to pay for B, which is going to lead to C, which is going to lead to D, kind of that whole chain link down the road. So you want to make sure the three big ones are health, safety, and welfare. You want to make sure those are secure as you move forward, no matter what. You also want to look for function, like the bigger, I call them the bigger, broader things, but, walking, and those kind of skills and things like that. It really, that's hard to pinpoint because it does depend on the individual and the individual situation. But I would say for the parent to start with networking, start with research, get connected with somebody who knows how to walk you down that path and point you in the direction and show you where to go and what to do. Because that's how you get more information. You can't rely on the doctors and healthcare providers and things like that, because they have lots and lots of people and they might have some information. But if you connect with other parents or other organizations in your area, you're going to know so much more, so much faster.
Are there specific organizations that are nationwide, or is there like individual state organization, like that every state would have, to where parents should start? Because I feel that a lot of parents, you're saying research and you're saying find these networking opportunities, which is great advice. But I feel like parents might feel better if they had a targeted, like, okay, go here and do research.
Yes, the Autism Society of America is nationwide. There are local chapters throughout the network. That's a wonderful place to start. They have a lot of great resources. They have activities. Everyone's a little bit different on what they do, but you do have access to the whole network throughout the country. So that's an excellent place to start. Also, your local Department of Social Services, because a lot of times they'll have access to things like Medicaid waivers and other resources like that in your local area as well.
Thank you. So if you don't mind, I'm trying to put these things in the chat so that so that they pull up for people. So the Department of Social Services, and then was it the National Autism Society that you said first?
It's Autism Society of America.
Autism Society of America. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that because, like I said, I feel like there are so many people who they don't know what they don't know. And, and there's lots of Facebook groups, there's lots of, social media groups. Do you have any that you support or that you host that you would recommend?
Oh, obviously, I host a group on Facebook, and I also have other media platforms where people can get information. I am in the process of collecting more information to post on my website as far as resources and things like that. But I also do a podcast myself, and I had a wonderful guest, Shelly Kino.
Thank you.
And there's also some great publications out there. Autism Parenting Magazine is a great resource. They've been around forever and a day. I used to subscribe to them when my daughter was little. But they have a summit twice a year where you can get really good information from qualified speakers, which I'm also...
and I was just going to say that. I thought I saw just recently that you were speaking at that. So that's awesome. Congratulations.
Yes, they're very wonderful speakers. No, but in all, actually, they really do. It's been a huge help for me as a resource over the years with my daughter and just learning all the information they have there. And there are also other organizations. I went to a conference up in Canada, actually. It was the International Conference of Autism and Neurodevelopmental Disorders. And so there are things like that you can get on the computer and Google and say, Autism Summit or Autism, I don't know if you want to use the word convention, that might not be the right word, but a lot of the local places or nearby that will have different organizations that come in and do that. I know around where I live, there's also nonprofit organizations. And I'm finding more and more as I network with other people across the country, not just the US, but in Canada, some in the UK, that there's different nonprofit organizations. In fact, this is a funny story. When I was in Canada at the ICANN conference, I actually met a group that works with autistic children in Zambia, Africa, and they're based here in Virginia, an hour and a half from me. And I had no idea. So I met them in Canada, and they're an hour and a half from me. So
that's so crazy. Our world is so small sometimes.
It really is. It is. And just the more you network, I know you need places to start, and that's great. But the more you network, the more you're going to network, and you're not going to always know where that takes you. But my daughter got her special needs housing voucher because I networked. My good friend and I started a group for parents with kids with autism in our local area because there was nothing. And so we got together and we said, you know what, let's start one. And the more parents that came, the more people we got to know. And we're talking 10 years later, one of them calls me up and says, hey, I just found out there's a couple special needs housing vouchers open. You might want to check it out. Here in Virginia, they don't open very often. There's only so many of them. And when one comes up, you have to try to snap it up because it doesn't come out all the time. And it stays with the person until they no longer qualify or until they pass away, or if the Virginia government creates a new spot. So it is crucial to finding out the resources in your area.
Yeah, and I think it's so difficult. And I know there are lots of different people that have asked me to be on directories around the country because they say, oh, we don't know where to look to find an IEP coach or an advocate or, accessible, friendly companies or, the information that we need to get our children on these lists or to, get the services. And so there are lots of people putting these things together. It's just, I wish there was just, like to tell everybody, go here, and you'll find everything you need. And I get that it's impossible because there's so much stuff and every state has its own regulations on certain things. I mean, yes, we do have federal regulations, but then a lot of those federal regulations have parts where the individual states can tweak it and alter it a little bit. And so, making sure that everybody is kind of on the same page is pretty difficult. So, are there key words that you would recommend for people? And I know I asked you how to start and I'm still sort of stuck on the research piece. But would there be keywords maybe for people to type in to help them?
Sure. I would type in autism advocate near me. That might point you in a direction. Or you could say autism consultant near me. You could say autism nonprofit organizations near me.
Perfect. Oops, except I can't spell profit. Wonderful. Thank you so much for those tips. So autism advocate, autism nonprofits near me, or autism supports. Perfect. So yeah, just type in those keywords. And I've been kind of adding these things over into the chat as much as possible. And one thing that I've added that I want you to discuss a little bit, and then we'll go back to what else do we have to do to what things do we have to do to get started, is you told me that you have a free class the second Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. So how do they access that? Where do they get the link to join that? Or is it only in person? And if it's in person, where do they get the address?
Sure, it is virtual. You can find it on my website under services. I think I also have it on my homepage. It's the Empowered Advocate Hour. And like you said, it's the second Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. There's a link there. You just click. It says join now, and you fill out the little form, which will bring it to me, and I'll get you all set up.
Perfect. And your website is Bright Path, 4 Autism. So BRIGHTPATH, 4 AUTISM.org. And that is in the chat as well. So for anyone who is listening and not watching, I hope to have the links in the show notes by the time this releases as the podcast. So if not, you'll just have to come back and find us on the website and find us that way. Okay, so I asked you how we get started. You said research, and then I got stuck. So what are some of the next steps that we should take besides the research in getting started and preparing early?
I think some of the next steps once you have the research is creating a strategy or a plan. And that's what I do with my clients, is kind of help them take all that information and say, now what do I need to do first? And I use the 3R method, the 3 right method, in order to help that overwhelmed feeling where you can narrow it down and kind of focus. And that is the right now. is the first one, and that is, what do I need to do first? What's the most pressing issue? What do I need to take care of in this week or this moment? And once you establish that, that's a good starting point. It's what's the most urgent matter? Do you have a time sensitive matter? Is there a behavior issue? Is there a meeting coming up that you need to prepare for? The second one is the right person. Who can you reach out to that can help you accomplish that right now thing or support you in that without adding extra stress or extra hardship? Who can help make that burden lighter? And three is right after. What is the thing you need to do right after you finish the right now? Kind of what's up on deck, what's next? What is that next most pressing issue that I need to handle? And if you follow that 3R method, then it takes the chaos and the overwhelm and really condenses it in a way that is tolerable, it's doable, it's less stressful, and you're a lot more organized. I highly recommend for organization using a binder system where you have different binders for different things, because you're going to get a lot of paperwork over the years, and you're going to need every piece of it at some point along the journey. So having it organized in a binder where it can be easily accessed and you can carry it, it can be mobile, is a huge tool that you can use to keep everything together, save time, a lot less stress. And you want to make sure that you are documenting everything. So keep a journal, keep a notebook, and keep that handy as well, because if somebody asks you, well, what happened in that evaluation 2 years ago? Are you going to remember off the top of your head? Probably not. But if you have the documentation, well, I spoke to this person on this day at this time, and this is what they said, then you can show that trail from A to B to C to D to wherever you are right now. And that is so crucial, especially when you have to step up and be the advocate. It's almost like, I don't know if you watch the lawyer TV shows where they talk about burden of proof, but that falls on you as the parent. You have to prove to these organizations, no matter what they are, that A, your child needs them, and B, they qualify, because these people don't know your child. So you have to paint that picture for them. The more accurately you can do that and back it up with documentation, that's going to really validate your inquiry and really go a long way.
And I want to reiterate that, and I think that is such a solid point, and it applies really at any age, whether you're going into an IEP meeting during the school years, or whether you're going into an organization and saying, I think my child would benefit from and be eligible for supports from this organization, is so often we take it personally, which I don't know how you wouldn't take it personally when somebody denies us or doesn't believe us when we say, well, this is how my child is, or this is what my child needs. And so I just want to talk about that with you for just a minute. If you have any suggestions, because I've learned over the years how, not to take things so personally, but my child hasn't gone through the walk that your child or anybody's else's child with autism has gone through. And I'm not diminishing the feelings at all. I just want to try to help balance the feelings with the other person doing their job, kind of, I guess.
Absolutely. When we first start out, we tend to believe in the system, and we believe that this person or this school system or whatever is always going to work in the best interest of my child, because that's what they're supposed to do. Unfortunately, that's not the reality that we live in. And what I've come across time and time again are organizations like social services or things like that will just start off with denial. And so if you don't know those systems inside and out and you're not prepared, then your child is going to get denied services that will help them that they really need. So again, combining that research we talked about earlier and having the documentation to back it up, you can say, well, actually, they do qualify because X, Y, and Z. And it goes a long way. And even if you have to appeal, you can't take that personally. It's not an affront against you. For example, I'll give you a healthcare example that'll kind of illustrate what I'm talking about. Insurance companies hire people and companies to find ways to deny claims and save them money. And that's
Right.
these people's job, is to deny claims and save the insurance company money. So how does that work out for you as the patient, in this case, the client, if they are looking out for themselves and not looking out for your child? And unfortunately, that's a reality in the world that we live in. But if you are an educated and empowered advocate, then you will know how to navigate those situations, or you will have people in your support network that will help support you through those situations. So you'll know, okay, I need to appeal this within 30 days. Here's where I go to do that. This is what they're looking for. I need to make sure to emphasize these points because that's what's going to change the outcome. And I'm not telling you to lie, never lie, always tell the truth. But you have to paint the picture because these people don't know your child. And you have,
Right.
We love to share our child's accomplishments, and we should celebrate those 100%. But when it comes to applying for services and painting the pictures, you have to keep in mind, what is my child's function? What does it look like on their worst day? Or if they didn't have the medication that they're taking to stabilize them, what does that look like? If
Yeah. And that,
you're only as strong as your weakest link, think about the worst day, because that's when they're going to need the services the most. And you have to paint that picture.
yeah. And I appreciate you sharing that because I do feel from the interactions that I've had with all the however many parents that I've interacted with over the years, that they do feel a sense of defensiveness about talking about the negatives. And my gathering of why is because basically you're always on the defense of saying my child deserves an education, to have a life, to get a job if they want to be part of society, and that shouldn't be the case. And so I understand the defensiveness. Well, I don't understand it. I have not walked it. I empathize with that. And so I think it is sort of an accidental innate, I'm only going to talk about the good things. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, when you're asked on these forums or in these interviews or these, processes to talk about the bad things, to talk about the not so great things, it is hard, I imagine, to let that come out, or to even want it known by anybody that, oh, this is something that my child goes through. And I say child, and every time I say child, in my head, I picture, a little person. But these are adults that we're talking about. Yeah. And I feel like the services for adults with disabilities are so much harder to access than it is for children. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's very comparable in the difficultness. I think it's difficult no matter what age you're talking about. It does, however, seem that there are less services, like you talked about, with companies hiring people specifically to say no, specifically to find a loophole to save them money, which is very, very aggravating from anybody's perspective. Mm-hmm. But from the perspective of somebody who's always fighting to get what their child deserves, that has to be even more frustrating.
It really is. And what we have to keep in mind is our jobs as parents are to give our child as many tools and things that they need. We are to try to teach them how to become independent functioning adults. And that looks different for everybody. But as an autism parent, there's so many hurdles that you have to go through and so many stereotypes that you have to break. It's it's a challenge and it's a 24/7 thing. You don't realize how much your life becomes one giant compensatory strategy for your child. You have certain things in place that are certain sensory things in place, certain types of clothing your kid likes to wear, certain environments they like to have, the noise canceling headphones. I always had a bag in the car. I always had a snack because my daughter would get very grouchy when she was hungry. You have the change of clothes. Even up when they got older, you still had your bag in the car ready to go. And other parents will have that for kids too. But it's going to look different and it's going to fade out as their child grows and becomes older. But the difference is ours a lot of times has to keep going. You are your child's best advocate. And that's a hard job, but it's an important job. No one knows your child like you. No one else can fight for your child the way that you can. Sometimes that looks like, hey, my child is making progress. Look at the progress from A to B to C. They're benefiting from this service or this therapy because it is helping them. And here's how it's helping them. And other times it's my child needs the help because this is the problem that we're seeing and they're not able to do this consistently, or we're having outbursts, they're having meltdowns, they're having whatever the situation is. And just you have to unattach from the outcome is the phrase I use. You have to put it out there and unattach from the outcome, whether they accept it, whether they don't, whether they deny it, whether you have to appeal. Just don't carry that with you. What's going to happen is going to happen. Your job is to put it out there in the best way possible in front of the right people, hopefully with the right wording and the right ways. And that's all you can do. That's the best you can do. And if you have done everything you can do, then you're good. You're good. It's not personal. You have to know within yourself. I've done absolutely everything I can do. When your child grows up, my daughter's going to be 28, and she still has challenges, but I can look back at her growing up and say, I did the very best I could. I did absolutely everything that I knew to do, that I could possibly do to give her every opportunity and every skill I could possibly get her or teach her so that she can be independent and live her life. And at the end of the day, once they're all grown, that's all you can do. Like you said earlier, you don't know what you don't know, and you do the best you can, and you have to keep forward.
And I think something that parents and most, if not, almost all of my interactions with parents have not just been with parents, but with the moms. And so I'm not taking anything away from the dads, just that my experiences have been more with moms. We hold that very much as guilt. Mm-hmm. And I know the dads do too. It just seems like moms are the ones that are mostly the ones doing the battling, doing the paperwork, calling the companies and whomever. And I want you, no matter if you're the mom or the dad, to let yourself off the hook about your past. I believe it was Maya Angelou who says, I did what I knew how to do, and when I learned differently, I did differently, or something like that. That's probably not an exact quote. However, as you just said, Susan, you can only do with what you know how to do at that moment. And I'm sure that I think almost all parents have some guilt that, oh, I should have done this or I could have done that. I feel it's a deeper problem, a deeper guilt for parents of children who have disabilities because your challenges are so much greater to start with. And I hope, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that I think that the outcome is so much bigger. You have so much more to lose, I guess, if you feel like you made the wrong choice or missed something. And believe me, I've done it. We can all look back and say, should have done this better. I wish I'd have done that. Oh, I wish I'd have known that. If I'd have known that, I would have done X, Y, and Z. That's not going to help anybody. You can't pour into someone else unless your cup is full. And if you're constantly throwing rocks in it because, oh, you're carrying this guilt with you and you feel bad about that, you're not going to be able to help anyone to the best of your ability. We have to just do the best we can and let it go. I took a course recently from an occupational therapist, and her sons have autism. It was about new techniques and different things to work with kids with autism. And she was saying, back in the day, because her kids are adults too, what they had her doing were different techniques that she was saying what they were. And nowadays we go, oh my gosh, that's so horrible. But back then, 20 years ago, that was what the standard was. And we didn't know any different. And so now we can look at it and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. That was horrible. Where back then, in the moment, you thought you were doing the best thing, the most up-to-date thing, the cutting edge thing. So, give yourself grace. Give yourself a break. Do the best you can do and leave the rest unattached from the outcome.
Yes, unattached from the outcome. I like that. So, Susan, you seem to have lots of knowledge. And so if somebody is looking for help, anywhere in the country, they can reach out to you and you can help them?
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be necessarily just the U.S. I do have connections that I work with in other places. And I actually hosted an autism anthology book that spans 2 continents and 3 countries. We had participants from Canada, from the UK, from all over the U.S. You can absolutely reach out to me. And if I'm not one of those people that think I know it all, if you come to me and I say, you know what, I really want to help you, but I really think so-and-so is going to be the best fit for what you need, then I'll refer you to that person. I'm not going to, say, oh, yes, I can help you if I can't. That's not who I am. But yes, they can reach out to me through my website, through email. Absolutely. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Substack. Anywhere you can find me. And I know that you have my links to different places.
Yeah. And so your YouTube is at Puzzled Parents Unlocked, and that is your podcast, correct?
Correct. That is my podcast. There's a few other little videos on there when I was first starting out, but my video podcast is on the YouTube channel. I also have my audio versions of it that are released out there on your favorite streaming apps. So you can kind of reach those.
And how did they get your book? I was just looking at your website, and I'm not seeing it. Not that I'm perfect at looking at websites.
Yeah, I have to update the link on my website. I build all my own stuff on my website, so sometimes I have to. But it is on Amazon. It's called Daring to Belong, Stories of Autism, Courage, and Connection. And it's hot off the press. It just released on World Autism Day, which was April the 2nd. There are some really amazing stories in there. There it is. Yes. I will be updating. That's from my homepage on my website. I will be putting the link in there. I apologize. I don't have it up there yet.
Nope, that's okay. As long as we know the name and we know the author, and it's with 10 other authors, you said, so you did the anthology. And I think that's so cool that you and I share as many stories as we possibly can, either in our podcasts or in the books that we put out there. And so I appreciate that. And I appreciate all the families that share. And just on a sort of a side note, if there is anybody that is wanting to share your story, like Susan is doing today, please reach out to me and let me know, because I know there are millions of stories of families and individuals and people who are bringing support services to individuals to help us through those limits. And I love doing these. As I said at the beginning, I have the most amazing guests, and I'm always thrilled. Oftentimes, I will say at the beginning, "I'm so thrilled to," or "I'm so excited to," and I really do mean that, because all these stories are just absolutely amazing, and I feel that they should be heard. And so, Susan, thank you for having that book out, and I'm going to pop it back up again. Daring to Belong. I think that is.
On my podcast, there's a 2-part episode where it's an authors panel from the 10 authors and myself in the book, where we actually sat down and recorded a panel discussion, and you can learn more about them as well. That's the current episode on my YouTube channel is part 1. Part 2 is going to be coming out on the 2nd of May. So check that out. There's incredible women, just amazing. I can't believe, I'm so proud of it. I'm humbled by it. It's just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So Puzzled Parents Unlocked is the podcast. Daring to Belong is the book. They can reach you through Bright Path for Autism. Your actual email is susan@brightpathforautism.org, and that's Susan, SUSAN. Are there other ways? I mean, we talked about your all the different social medias that you are on. You're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Substack. What is Substack?
Substack is more for authors. It has to do more with reading, people who like to read and share their stories there. I hadn't heard of it before until I got into the group that I'm in now and became an author myself. So it's just more, if you love reading, if you want to find cool authors and many different things on there, you can jump on there and check it out.
And is that where they would find your magazine? Would be on Substack? Or where would we find your magazine? How would people get your magazine?
Sure, yes. My magazine's launching on June 1st, and you'll be able to find that on Amazon. It's called Built for This with the number 4. So Built, the number 4, This, where different thinking works. And the first edition focuses on unmasking. And all the authors that participated in my book also got an article. So there's lots of good information in there as well. And the cover I'm very excited about. Her name is Julie. And she actually self-diagnosed herself with autism as an adult. And so she really talks about unmasking and how hard it was and how freeing it's been since she's been able to do that. So I don't want to give away too much because her story is pretty amazing. But you'll be able to find it on Amazon, Built for This.
Okay, so I've got that into the show notes, although I think I spelled available wrong. But it is what it is. The typing was little, and I couldn't tell for sure. So
I'm a horrible speller. I can't believe I'm an author myself, but that's all I can say.
Right, exactly. And I'd already fixed it once because anyway. So spelled correctly or incorrectly, it's still the word that I spelled wrong is available, but I did not misspell Built for This magazine. So, it's wrong. I can see it right now. Now that it's bigger, I can definitely tell that I spelled it wrong, but available June 1st. So that's awesome. So, Susan, we talked a little bit about transition and how to, we talked a lot about the research part of it and the getting start of it. What kinds of things do you think, in your experience, have been the most needed parts for helping our younger children become the adult butterflies and to be independent?
I think having age appropriate. I used to call them chores. My daughter hated the word chores, so I call them tasks around the home, things that they can be responsible for. Have some kind of chart and a positive reward system. That always works well. One thing as they get older, as soon as they're old enough, I am a huge proponent of volunteer work. Get them volunteering in the community, even if it's just one day a week for a couple of hours, whatever it looks like in your area, because that is going to help them get comfortable outside of the home. It's going to help teach them functional life skills like, oh, I have a schedule. I need to show up on time. Oh, I can't make it this week. I need to make sure so-and-so knows. Or there's a person there that I have some conflict with. How can I resolve that conflict resolution skills? So many crucial life skills can be learned over time with volunteer experiences. And it does give them a sense of accomplishment, a sense of purpose. And not only that, but it gives back to the community. So they're already contributing to society and community in positive ways. So absolutely volunteer work.
Yeah, those are two great suggestions. And I just want to point out that I saw this recently in a parent group. Actually, it wasn't even in a parent group. It was just a friend of mine's Facebook page. And she's an author and she writes beautifully. And she has a son who has autism. And she's been on the podcast twice. And she was saying that her son's about finished with his schooling. And then what? Then what's going to happen? We're in a rural area. And another parent posted that she had been through the similar walk earlier, several years ago with her own child. And she kept knocking on doors. Mm-hmm. And I think that is an amazing trait and one that probably a lot of parents have to build that thick skin of when you go to one business and that business says, well, we can't do anything. We don't have anything. Don't assume that all the businesses or all the organizations are going to say no. The parent who was being in support said, once I got one company mm-hmm. to agree to let my child come in for a couple of hours a day, a couple days a week, then I got another company. Because mm-hmm. once one company does it, it seems like, oh, well, okay, that company's doing it, so I could probably do it. Whether that's a competition or okay, I could do this because that other person is doing it. I have no idea. But whatever the part was that made it happen, that part doesn't matter in my thinking.
And there's a lot more research out there too. I'm sorry, you cut you off. But there's a lot more research out there. Companies are really looking into hiring the neurodivergent population. I know, JP Morgan Chase started their Autism at Work program back in 2015, kind of as an experiment. And now they have over 40 employees across 9 countries that are on their teams that are neurodivergent that they've hired for those purposes. It's coming. It's going to happen. We're not there yet. So if you have to keep knocking on the doors, keep knocking. And if they say no, and then if it wasn't meant to be, it's not going to be a good fit anyway. But you'll find the right one if you don't give up. And that's another reason why volunteering is so important. I've known several people whose teenagers volunteered at the Humane Society, and then it transitioned into a part-time job there. So you never know what door is going to open. But just when it does, if you feel like it's a good fit, say yes. Don't be afraid to try it. And I do want to mention that sometimes your child can surprise you. My daughter wanted to do the Navy Junior ROTC when she got to high school. And I went, you sure? I don't know if that's going to be a good fit. But she's like, no, I want to do it. Okay, fine. And she did great for the first 2 years. She did, and I feel like it was still good for her because she felt like she had a group to belong with, even though, she was quirky and a little bit different. She was still in the group. She got to go travel little places and go to outings and do things. And it really gave her that sense of belonging, that sense of purpose, and accomplishment. And I never in a million years would have thought to encourage her to do that because I didn't think it was going to be a good fit. I didn't think she had the interest in it, and she blew me away. She surprised me 100%.
That's great advice. And it's so true. And sometimes, even though you can't get your child to do certain things, whether that's a under 18 child or an over 18 child, other people, they'll either do it for them, or that other person has just something about them that will help motivate. And I know I used to have so many of my students' parents say, I can't get my child to do that, or I've never seen my child do that, or I never thought my child would do that. And it's, different environments, different people, whatever. I'm not going to say that I'm some amazing person, but whatever the factors were, these kiddos could do certain things, and then they would transfer those skills to home. And sometimes I had parents tell me over the years, if their child wasn't listening to them, they'd say, well, you would do it for Mrs. Keno, and then the child would do it. So, sometimes whatever works is what you need to do.
I think that's a little bit true for every child. They're always going to do better for someone other than the parent. I was just talking to a good friend of mine about that today, who has an autistic child as well. Well, our kids grew up together, so they're kind of like siblings who aren't siblings, but
right. Yeah.
She was like, he'll do it better for you. I'm like, okay, I'll talk.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's just, mom and dad are just mom and dad, and they don't always know stuff, but yeah, if they hear it from someone else's voice, it just sinks in for whatever reason. So
once they go into adulthood, it's a whole new ball game too. They really don't want to hear it from mom. Teenagers, they don't want to hear it, but once they get to a certain age, they really don't want to hear it from mom and dad. It's an interesting journey, and your child, your baby's always your baby, whether they're 2 or 30. That's your baby, but you develop that different relationship with them once they become an adult. And I do want to share really quickly one strategy, because one issue that I came across, and I know a lot of people have this happen, where my daughter turned 18, and so everybody's telling her, oh, you're an adult, you're an adult, you're an adult. And of course, she was still in, I think, 10th grade at the time. And so I don't have to listen to you. I'm an adult. Oh, really? Can you pay your own bills? Do you have a job where you make money? Do you wash your own clothes? Do you cook your own meals? Do you keep track of your medication? Do you keep up with all your doctor's appointments? All these different responsibilities that we have as adults. And of course, her answer was no, 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 no. Gosh, I'm sorry, you're not an adult yet, but you're practicing to become one, and I'm going to help you learn these skills. Which one of these do you want to start working on first?
That's an awesome approach. Absolutely awesome approach. And one thing I would like to suggest, and you can tell me if you think this is a good suggestion or not, is when you are going to those businesses for jobs, or whether you're going to businesses as volunteer opportunities, I think it helps if you go with ideas of things that they could do. Mm-hmm. Because I sometimes think if you just say, I want my child to have, or can my child volunteer or work here, there might be a certain mindset that, like, oh my gosh, I don't know what they could do. I want to help, but I don't know what they could do. And so does it help to have some, like, here's some things that they are really successful at home, or what I think they might be really successful doing for you in your business or your organization?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. And sometimes you can even find places that will do evaluations to see what your child is good at. I know here in Virginia, we have a place, it used to be called Woodrow Wilson after the president, but I think they call it Wilson Workforce now. And your child can actually go there and stay a couple of days, and they'll evaluate them in different job skills. And so you can then take that report, again, the documentation, we talked about that with the binder system. You can take that report into the employer And then the conversation goes away from please, 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 please to my child's going to benefit your business, and here's how, and you have the documentation.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
You're talking business to business level, not coming with your hands open, going please, please help my child. You're saying, hey, I can help you.
That's awesome. And everybody wants to be helped, even if they don't like to often accept help. Everybody still likes to, oh, you're helping me and I'm going to help you. And so, yeah, this is mutual and let's do this. That's great. Last final tip, suggestion, word of advice before we head off.
Don't feel like you have to know it all. That old saying, it takes a village. It really does. Reach out. There are people like me. There are people like Shelly. What I've learned is I don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are people out there doing things like little pieces here and there. And one of the things I'm working to is to connect and create those networks and lives. Like I said earlier, if I'm working with you and something comes up and maybe I don't have experience with that, I would say, hey, let me connect you with so-and-so. Reach out. Don't feel like you have to know everything. And it's okay. If your child is older, let's say your child's even 20. My first client was a 22-year-old young woman. And I was able to help her. And now she works and she's becoming more independent. And she will probably be able to get her own place now. If you didn't start early, don't panic. It's okay. We got you.
Awesome. That is great advice. Susan, thank you so much for being my guest today. And thank you to those who were in attendance with us live and who will be watching in the replay. I so much appreciate you. And I hope that you're appreciating the guests that I bring you. And like I said before, if you have a story that you believe you want to tell, or someone who has a story that you believe would be a great story to tell, be sure to reach out to me and I can talk with them and see. I think all of my guests have said it's pretty easy. And a lot of them have come on and been scared. So I try to make it just like it's a conversation between me and my guest. And remember, everybody, we know who we are, but not who we will be. And I will see you next time.
Hey, parents and teachers, are you tired of IEP meetings that feel like a battle? Let's put an end to the tension and create a collaborative, calm, and respectful environment together. Shelly Kino, your go-to IEP consultant, can transform your meetings into positive and productive experiences. With Shelly Kino, your child is her top priority, your voice is heard, and you become confident. Shelly Kino is making the world better for all, one IEP at a time. Visit www.shellykino.com for more information and set up your free 20-minute consultation today. That's shellykino.com, SHELLEYKENOW.